When it comes to diversity and inclusion, I think before we go on with our D&I or DEI agenda, we have to understand this. We need to understand that inclusion is a strategy and diversity is a tactic. And maybe you can't be pushing the agenda to have more diverse people in the organization, more black people, more queer people, more people living with disabilities or whatever background, diversity, however way you want to have it in your organization. We shouldn't be pushing that agenda if we do not understand why we need to be having diverse team, right? So, because we're talking about two things. We need to understand that diversity is just change. And the diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda is about transformation, not change. So meaning, it doesn't help to have more diverse teams in the organization if they do not feel emotionally and psychologically safe in the workplace, if they're still disengaged, if they don't have real power in the organization. That is no transformation. That is just change. That is just the numbers. Right? This just being relevant, right? But if we understand the power of diversity, we will start with inclusion. We need to understand the strategy first. We need to understand why we need to be inclusive first. Inclusion is transformation. We're talking about caterpillar transforming into a butterfly, right? So, and I want to share with you the full phases of inclusion so that as you go on with your diversity and inclusion or DEI agenda, you choose consciously what type of inclusive leadership you want or what kind of inclusive organization you want to become so that we understand it. Before I get to that, here's how we know you're inclusive, right? When you're inclusive, it means your workplace is psychologically and emotionally safe, right? And we understand that the importance of inclusion as a strategy. When you're an inclusive organization, you understand that when we are inclusive as an organization, our environment will be psychologically and emotionally safe for our employees, diverse as they are. Meaning we're not prioritizing diversity. We're prioritizing being inclusive for each and every person who could walk in. Whether they're gay or not, whether they're black or white, whether they're young or old, whether they have this level of education or they don't, whether they belong to this particular religion or not, political beliefs, whatever the background they have. So we need to first understand, we need to first start with building the organization, making it psychologically and emotionally safe, and understanding why we should do that. Because when we do that, that is simply inclusion. When employees come to work feeling that their presence is desired, that their opinions matters, that they're cared for, when they feel safe, that's inclusion, right? And that's why we shouldn't be worrying about diversity. Right now, we are more about diversity, but we're losing it. We're losing it because it's like we just happen to be diverse. We didn't understand the importance of diversity and inclusion to start with, right? So we need to understand that the importance of diversity and inclusion, you have to have the workplace that is psychologically, emotionally safe for everyone, right? Why is that important? Hence, inclusion is a strategy. Why is it important? It is important because when your employees feel safe in your workplace, right? They can be more engaged. They can contribute, right? They can show up as the true selves. They can express themselves. They can perform well. They don't have to hide. They don't have to work on actuals, right? Whether they are black or white, whatever, they don't have to worry about those things. They don't have to worry about racism, sexism, homophobia, whatever it is. They don't have to worry about that because it is emotionally and psychologically safe. You made sure that the environment is that. Why? Because, and then that's what gives you an engaged team. And an engaged team and a high employee morale is what now helps you with performance, right? High performance. You cannot expect high performance from a person who is not feeling safe in your organization because they don't feel like they belong in the organization. They don't feel like they're appreciated. They don't feel like their presence is desired in the organization, right? Hence, you cannot be running to invite people in who are different if you have not fixed the environment first. They need to feel welcomed in your organization. And you need to understand that it is good for you to be inclusive, Like I said, if it is psychologically and emotionally safe for your employees, then you're going to be engaged. An engaged team performs well. They have high employee morale, right? And then another thing that we're not aware of is that market intelligence. These people, diverse as they are, when your organization is inclusive, it's easy for you to get this to unlock innovation in your team because they're more engaged, and they can give you market intelligence. They're coming for this is a competitive advantage. Diverse as it is, your team, that's a sustainable competitive advantage. Nobody can ever copy your team. Nobody has the team that you have than you, and meaning you can capitalize on that. If you have people from a particular background, they can give you intel from that. Say, for example, you want to penetrate the township market, and you have somebody, social class, they grew up in the township. They can give you intel from the horse's mouth. You want to launch a product line for women, bring women in the brainstorming sessions, right? You understand what I'm trying to say? So start with being more inclusive first before you go to diversity. So that you're strategic, you know that you're gonna be, we're dealing with young, like products. It's for young people, the millennials and stuff like that. So your strategy would be, okay, we need to start employing more millennials, young people who understand the millennials. You understand? So meaning inclusion, which is strategies, what now informs diversity, which is your tactic. So say now you want to be an inclusive leader, an inclusive organization. So I want to bring to your attention the 4 phases of inclusion, or 4 types of inclusion. And so that you can make the right choice. So you can decide what kind of inclusive leader or inclusive organization you're going to be, what category you want to fall into. First is activism. Activism inclusion is the people, the organization or leaders that are pro-X. They could be pro-women, where you find or pro-black, pro-whatever. That's inclusion, where you can find actually a black-owned, their thing. This is how we're gonna be more inclusive. We're just gonna be pro-black or pro-women. And you find that the organization is all women, the leadership is all women, pro-black and stuff like that, right? So that's the first type of activism. Each and every phase of inclusion has its own pros and cons, right? Up and downsides, right? So we have activism inclusion. 2, we have the PR stunt. So this is a once off to be relevant. So this one's just trying to be relevant. Say, for example, we have Pride Month coming in June next month. And okay, so we're just gonna fly the flag just once, or we're just gonna change our logo and do the rainbow. And then that's it. And then for the rest of the year, we're not gonna say anything. There's no pledge, there's no, practical strategies and policies in the organization that shows that we are there for the LGBTI community. You just do something once, Black Lives Matter once, post on Facebook, and then that's it. You just wanna be relevant because of the flavor of the month, right? Those are the PR stances, right? So 3 is love. So when it comes to love, these are the organizations or leaders that are coming from privilege with open arms, and they are actively working on their own unconscious biases and are unlearning, right? So it could be that sexism, right? So you're a man, and then you know about patriarchal system and how it perpetuates sexism and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, you're coming from a place of privilege, so you start working on yourself and you start coming up with strategies on how you can now, be more like, it's love, it's embracing, coming back from your privilege down. Maybe you're white, right? Racism, and then you start approaching it differently, right? So this is just an inclusion strategy that focuses on coming from a place of privilege with open arms, with love, to embrace those that are different. Understanding that there's a possibility that you cannot even start understanding and imagine. You can't even imagine what life is like from their lens, right? So that's love, inclusion strategy coming from love. The last one is inclusion strategy. It's inclusion strategy that is focused on business strategy. That is like business strategy. So here it's like, okay, BEE points for BEE points. That's strategy, business strategy. And we have strategy to say, okay, product line, we want to launch products that is going to target a particular group of people. So we need this kind of people can give us the right insights and marketing intel to help us launch this. So, or maybe in the company, all right, we're launching a product line for women. So, and then you check that the C-suite is mainly men, right? And then you like decide, you change the strategy to say, okay, let's get the women in the room, the seat at the table, because these are the best people to tell us how we can navigate this, right? Product line for young people, millennials, whatever it is. So let's bring those up, right? So, for example, Pride Month is coming. Instead of just thinking on your own, invite the LGBTI community, the LGBTI individuals, the people that belong to the LGBTI community in your organization to come and help you on how you can be more inclusive, how you can recognize this day. You know, ask them what can they do to make them, what can you do to make them feel more welcome in your organization? People people of different race, different age, ask them. So here's strategies, ask them and then use that so that it works. All right, so it's business. So 4 phases of inclusion: we have activism, we have PR stunt, we have love, and we have business strategy. So you can mix them. Some choose one. We have those that choose PR stunts, those that choose activism, those are business strategy, those love. It doesn't matter, but what really matters is that you as a leader, what do you value, right? You know, how far are you willing to go, you know, to gain competitive advantage, to build a great business, you know, a business that is not only profit focused and that is also mission focused, that cares about the community that it operates in. You know, what kind of strategy should we be implementing? Ask yourself, which strategy have you been using, if any? You know, have you been using the activism inclusion strategy, the love, the PR stunt, or the business strategy, and which one can you fuse together to make sure that you take care of the business, you know, you're doing, it looks good on the business and it also looks good for the community. You're not exploiting either, right? So that's it.